It's finally here. The underwhelming conclusion to the perpetual failure machine that was Sony's lack of Spider-Man universe with villains that were actually heroes, not even anti-heroes. Every movie in this pitiful attempt was bad. At best, one was mid. Not exactly a glowing success. But Craven is here. No one wanted it, but it's here. No one's seeing it, but it's here. It dropped to a whopping 11% on Rotten Tomatoes, which I know doesn't really mean anything, but even the people that aren't just like Rotten Tomatoes critics don't like it. And it was pretty clear that this wasn't going to be a good movie from the very first trailer, really. And it only got worse as time went on, where even the director came out and publicly begged, actually groveling, for people to go see the movie, saying to please give it a chance. The writing was on the wall that this wasn't going to be good. But it is better than Madam Web. And it's better than the worst movie of the year, Borderlands. I will get my best compliment out of the way for Craven right now. Things happen. And that is more than you can say for both Madam Web and Borderlands. Now, that's about where the compliments come to a screeching halt, really. There are some action sequences that are good, unfortunately brought down by really bad CGI, but despite that, there are some good action moments. Like, there's 2 kills in here that I actually thought were pretty cool, like, kind of creative, so that was nice. And that's every single compliment that I could possibly fish out for this movie. So I just got back from seeing it and fighting off the drowsiness from how boring the first act was, and I took some notes, which is how you know the movie wasn't very good when I start taking notes. I do want to mention that they had it in the biggest theater there, like the biggest screen, and I was one of only like 10 people seeing it. So I'm getting the impression that this isn't going to be a, smash hit. Not going to be a grand slam here, I'm going to tell you that much. But I think we all knew that because it's a Sony no Spider-Man movie. They just are not working. And luckily they're done with it, so that's good at least. Anyway, though, the first half of the film, they dropped the first 8 minutes on YouTube, so you can kind of get a gauge for how the movie kind of plays out. He is not a bad guy. He's not a villain. He's not even an anti-hero. Craven is just a full-blown hero. He hunts bad guys. He even has a list of bad guys, an actual Santa Claus naughty list, and he goes and kills them. So the whole premise of the film is he's killing bad guys in order to save a family member, which happens in the second act towards the end. In the first act, though, after the 8-minute intro, which has a couple of action sequences and he breaks out of a prison, after that it's a flashback. And he's hunting with his father, Russell Crowe. Russell Crowe is on a real stinky streak. He has been in so many shit films recently. He's just in that era where he's just taking paychecks. Like, he's not really even trying that hard. In this movie in particular, I don't think he even really gave a fuck. Like, he didn't even bother to try and have fun with it. He just looked bored in every scene. It was just, he was cashing it in, which, it's Craven. I don't think anyone thought this would be good. But that always brings me back to... I know I'm not even talking about the movie right now in particular, but it always brings me back to, like, common sense. A movie of this scale, with this kind of budget, goes through so many different departments, so many different people put their fingers in the pie. How could nobody pipe up and say, hey, this is bad. Nobody's going to want to see this. Like, I don't know how that doesn't happen. Like, I understand lazy cash grabs, but usually a lazy cash grab has a chance of making money. Craven never even stood a fucking chance. What's the point? It's not like they even tried to do anything with it, really. They were more than content just being generic. And that's all. I don't get it. Anyway, though. So they're in the flashback for the first, 35 minutes of the movie-ish, probably. That's another thing. This movie didn't even have the courtesy of being short. It was a long movie. It was a fucking slog. I don't think it was over 2 hours, but it was pretty close. So the first 35 minutes, they're in the flashback, and Craven and his brother are with their father. He's a real asshole. They don't like him. They're hunting. There's this big chunky lion that is a legend, and their father Nikolai wants to kill the lion so he can become a legend, but instead the lion has a staring contest with Craven, Sergey. So they have a staring contest for some reason. They bond, and then Nikolai shoots the lion, and then the lion panics and mauls Sergei, and then carries him off into some bushes and plops him down. And then a girl comes over with a magic potion and dumps it in his mouth. So that girl is Calypso, and in this flashback, there was a different flashback scene where Calypso's with her grandmother, and she's doing like a tarot card reading that ends on the strength card, which has a lion on it, and then the grandmother gives her a potion and says it's going to heal someone in undreamed of ways. And then that girl is on like a photography trip with her parents, and she randomly decides to like get up and leave, and then she stumbles across the lion and Sergei, and then she pours the magic elixir in his mouth and gives him the tarot card and vanishes. So then he wakes up with superpowers. That's his origin story. It's really fucking lame. It's super lame. But it's bad. It's just bad. It's just bad. Then after starting to figure out that he's got new powers and stuff, he decides to abandon his brother and leave his father behind and go live in the woods. And he's basically just Tarzan. He's just Tarzan. A lot of the first 35 minutes is spent with him staring into animals' eyes as animals stare into his eyes. There are so many scenes of them just locking eyeballs. Like, all the animals fucking worship him all of a sudden because of, like, the lion blood inside of him. It's really lame. So anyway, he's Tarzan now. He's living in the woods, and there's some poachers. Poachers are like the big bad guys that kind of bring Craven to life. So he kills some poachers, because everyone hates poachers. Poachers fucking suck. They are villains. And in this movie, they're like the first bad guys we're introduced to. So Craven kills the poachers. Honestly, the first 35 minutes felt like an R-rated version of the Wild Thornberrys, but without him speaking to animals. They were communicating telepathically. And that even comes in towards the end of the movie where the impression is he like summons a stampede. Like there's this I guess I don't want to spoil everything, but it's implied that he like summons a stampede, so he's like some kind of influence over the animals to a certain extent. He's like Aquaman, but on land. He's fucking Landman. Anyway, though, I'm breaking the timeline here. So after like hunting poachers and shit, it fast forwards again 16 years later, and we see Calypso. She's now a lawyer, and one of her friends has been killed after investigating some bad guys. And Craven shows up at the funeral and hands her the tarot card that she left him 16 years ago. Somehow, he found her 16 years later from only the tarot card and nothing else. And they don't even explain it. They just say he took a while to find her. He just says, yeah, it took me a while, but I found you. Fair enough, I guess. He's very good at tracking people, is what they're trying to get across. But he shows up at the funeral, hands her the tarot card back. Now they become friends. And he wants to work with her to start finding the people that are on this list more efficiently. I will say, though, if he's supposed to be like the master tracker and he can find anyone, kind of underwhelming that he then goes to a lawyer to just find people for him. Seems just kind of lazy, or maybe he's just not that good at it. Also possible. So they team up kind of to like get all the bad guys so Craven can kill them. We then learn about the Rhino. The Rhino is basically a dweeb. He's a guy who everyone counted out and underestimated, so his big character arc is he got real strong by going to this doctor in New York who gave him like tenfold strength enhancement, but it ended up making his skin rhino-like. So then he takes like a serum to keep the rhino side suppressed because it hurts. He doesn't like the pain of being Rhino. So that's like the main bad guy is the Rhino. We get like a side bad guy named the Foreigner, and he has like the ability to like brainwash people temporarily, where he'll just count 1, 2. And then they're like kind of stunned, like they're frozen, while he can move around freely. So he just kind of like teleports around like that while they're stunned, which is a cool power. Like that's pretty strong, but they don't really utilize it super well. Like one of the times they use it is where the Foreigner is talking to this guy who just fed wrong on purpose information to Calypso. It was all a ploy to like fool Calypso to get Craven to a certain spot. And the Foreigner was talking to this guy, and then he's ready to kill him. So the Foreigner, hypnotizes him. 1, 2, and then he just shoots him during that. You could have just shot him. Like the guy that he shot was unarmed, He was just standing in a stairwell. What was the point in even putting him in the trance? You could have just shot him. Like, it's a cool power that I don't think they utilize in a really cool way, unfortunately. Because anytime he uses it, it's kind of just like a gun would have done the same thing and nothing else. Like, you didn't need the power. Like, it never at any point got him out of a really sticky situation, per se. He could have always just shot the person or the people that were there. So, kind of underutilized. But I actually thought that character was interesting at the very least, because he's also like a master assassin. So that's kind of cool, like the master hunter versus the master assassin. When they actually square off, kind of sucks. It just kind of sucks. I'm not going to spoil how that goes. I just thought that was a really lackluster way of dealing with that guy, with the foreigner. I'm not even going to bother with the rest of the notes. The movie's just not good. You weren't planning on seeing it anyway. Nobody is planning on seeing this movie. For good reason. It's just a waste of time. Like I mentioned, there's a couple decent action moments, but I can't even say like full action scenes are good, because the CGI is so bad in those scenes that it does weigh that down. So you can only have like a couple flashes of decent moments. So like him using the bear trap to kill a guy was cool. Him setting up this elaborate trap with bear traps and a giant log, that was cool. But the rest of that scene around it, not very cool. So there's like a couple of moments that are decent, but overall it's just not really a good movie. It is infinitely better than Madame Web, though. That movie had nothing in it, like actually nothing, and it's better than the Borderlands movie because that movie also had nothing in it, and Borderlands is still worse because not only did it have nothing in it, but it had the worst fucking jokes ever. At least Craven, this movie, doesn't really have many jokes. Like, maybe one or two total. So, it's better than two of the worst movies of the year. So, it's improvement, like all things considered, for the Sony villain Spider-Man verse, but they're not villains, they're actually heroes, there's just no Spider-Man. Anyway, that's really about it. See ya. I don't think anyone out there is surprised to hear that the Until Dawn movie is not good. But I do think you'll be surprised to hear that I'm getting a little haircut soon. Nothing like drastic or anything, just trimming some of the dead ends, which I haven't done in a long time. But anyway, about the Until Dawn movie, from the very first trailer it was clear this is going to have pretty much nothing in common with the game that it's based on. I've been screaming it and creaming it till I've been blue in the dick, but if you're going to be making a live-action adaptation of a video game, you've got to at least try and make it somewhat respectful to the source material. There's endless examples to pull from of movies and shows that completely miss the mark because they just decide that they know what's best for the property and have no idea what the game that it's based on is even about, like the Halo TV series. I'm not here to just regurgitate that. I only mention that because Until Dawn falls victim to the same thing here. However, I will say, to this movie's credit, the concept they come up with, while not really present in the game, is still a fun idea, where these characters, they go into this spooky house and they've got to survive until dawn, and they just keep getting killed over and over and over again, and they try and piece together the mystery while trying to survive the night so they can finally break the loop. It's more of like a Groundhog Day or like a Happy Death Day kind of thing, similar. Not really like the Until Dawn game, where if you've played it, you know you don't just endlessly retry, dying over and over again. In fact, it's all about your choices, trying to keep characters alive, and if you fuck up, if you shit the bed, you could permanently lose the character. That is not really present here. The only thing they borrowed from the game is the idea of the butterfly effect. But how about for people that haven't played the game? Will they like this? I think they'll like half of it. And admittedly, I liked half of it too. It's the first half of the film, where it does try and do its own thing. They actually have Peter Stormare, I think that's how you say his name, in this movie in a role. He was in the game too. I thought that was cool. He's not really utilized that much. I'm gonna have to get into spoilers. Spoiler warning. Alright, now that's out of the way. The first half of this movie is actually enjoyable. Like, it is a fun film. So they spend the first half, and there's recognizable things about it from the game, but if you haven't played the game, I think you'll probably just think that it's cool. They go here, and now they're stuck in this loop where they're getting chased by all kinds of different bad things, you know. Sometimes it's a slasher movie where they're being hunted by this, you know, basically fucking Bane, and he's like slaughtering them left and right, and then they reset, and then this time it's not that guy wandering around, you know, like fucking Jason Voorhees. Then it's more of a supernatural thing where they're getting like flown around and, you know, possessed and shit like that. And then there's another one where it's more of like almost like SCPs that they're being hunted by. Like, it's cool that it kept switching up what was hunting and killing them. The deaths were satisfying, sometimes even just shocking, but like in a silly way. So like one of the times they just start randomly combusting, just spontaneous combustion, and I mean that in the truest textbook definition. They just start spontaneously combusting like fucking meat balloons that are popping out of nowhere, which I thought, like, the theater actually laughed at that. And I'm sure they knew when they were making that scene that it would be silly and fun, and that's when the movie was at its best, when it kept doing these like wacky character deaths, being creative with the character deaths, and they were still getting like little tidbits of lore about what they're stuck in and what they need to do to get out of it, about needing to survive until dawn, otherwise they're trapped forever in like a permanent loop. They become part of the night. That's when the movie was at its best, and it was enjoyable. Yes, there were cheap jump scares. Obviously, there's going to be cheap jump scares, but the characters are absolutely horrible from start to finish. The characters are so one-dimensional. Like, they only have like one character trait, and that's it, and that's all they ever do. And now, let's get to the second half, where this movie completely falls apart, and I think even if you haven't played the game, you're going to hate the second half. This movie gets to a point where I think they just got really tired of making it, or maybe they started running out of budget. So they do like 3 nights, and it's fun. Like, it's a fun little horror flick for those 3 nights. They're showing you all these deaths and the things that they're starting to learn. And then, after the 3rd night, it skips to the 13th night, the last night. So it literally just goes, like, here's a death, and then they wake up and one of the characters says, how many nights has it been? How long have I been out? You've been out for 5 nights. And then one of the other characters, Nina's like, no, it's actually been 13. Check the book. So they check, confirm it's been 13 nights. No one ever survives past 13, so if they die here, that's the end. That's game over. So it literally just skips through all of like the interesting shit it was doing to get to the very end, so that way it goes to a glacial halt. Like, now all of a sudden nothing is happening because it's their last night, and it is a slog. Holy fuck, it's horrible. And they had the chutzpah to have one of the characters be like, oh wait, didn't I record something earlier? Because one of the characters, Abe, had like recorded when they first got there. He checks his phone, it turns out he recorded all the other nights. So then you get all the shit you saw in the trailer with like that bug in Clover's face, and then like that giant, like, spirited away guy who's going like this at the camera. Well, all of that was recorded on his phone, and we get like a little montage of it for like 45 seconds. You don't actually see any of that throughout the film. So instead, it fast forwards through all of that. The only thing that was interesting about it, to get to the second half, where it tries desperately to throw this Hail Mary of somehow loosely tying it into the Until Dawn lore, like the game lore, and it does it really, really bad. If you haven't played the game, maybe you won't be insulted by this, but having played the game, man, why did you even try with what they did here? Also, on their final night, pretty much everything they had learned meant nothing. Like, this was never a gradual buildup of how they solved it and how they outsmarted and then survived. What ends up happening on the last night is they look at those videos, and then the final video there has one of the characters being like, I'm gonna follow him, because Peter Stormare came through and she was filming him, and I guess he didn't see her, even though she was kind of just like out in the open filming it, literally like vlogging it. And so she sets the phone down and then follows him, and that was like the last video, and they're like, alright, let's go follow her. But they just like randomly start stumbling across the right way to go, not because they learned anything or adapted or evolved or got better at handling the horrors. They just got really lucky and conveniently just ass over tomato cans fell into the right path. Like, even finding her who followed that guy, she didn't get very far, but they happened to stumble across her. So like, there was never any emotional moments at all in this film. Everything was so fucking flat. But the thing it was doing well with like the creative deaths and like being over the top and silly with the deaths, they completely abandoned for the entire second half. So then it's just really boring. And then all of its problems really start to show, because now all of a sudden it's trying new things that don't work. Because it's not building tension. You now know these characters, they might die for real, but they're not even really playing with that. It's very clear they're not going to. And the final confrontation with Dr. Hill, that's Peter, is so comical. So, you remember how I mentioned spontaneous combustion? Well, what causes that, the catalyst, is drinking the water there. So in the final showdown with the big bad, the big villain, Peter, he shows up with a cup of coffee. First of all, he's drinking the coffee with no problem. It's already been established the water makes you blow up. Why isn't he blowing up? I kind of mental gymnastics this explanation in my head, so take it with a grain of salt, but I just cooked up the theory that maybe boiling the water cooks out the explosive elements of it, or he completely leaves the town, like goes across state lines to get clean water and then brews his coffee there and brings it back. Anyway, Clover is talking with him and he's monologuing, the most cliche shit ever. He's monologuing and he's being all over the top and exaggerated with it. So he's turning his back to her and he's like monologuing at a wall. Trauma. It's a very powerful fear. Very powerful. And our main character Clover notices a leaky pipe dripping water, so she moves his coffee cup over it, gets some of the water in it, moves it back, and then he's done monologuing, takes a sip and blows up. And then they all escape and they live happily ever after. Kind of. During this conversation, there are things that they feed you narratively that kind of sets this movie up as a fucking prequel to the Until Dawn game, loosely. It's rough. It is so rough. I don't understand why they thought that would hit. I don't know what they thought they were cooking. It's just not very good. Like, the first half, I was having fun with. If they had just done that for the whole film's runtime, I think this would have been like an enjoyable movie. I think it would have been a fine flick. Nothing special, but it would have been fun if it's just these characters getting gradually better at surviving all of the different horror that's thrown at them until they can finally fucking survive the whole night. That would have been cool. I would have rather seen that as opposed to what they did here, where they did a few nights and then fast forwarded to the very end and tried to like fill in the blanks a little bit. It was just dumb. Like, the whole second half it's so boring. It's so excruciatingly boring. And like I mentioned, there's nothing emotional about it. Like, you don't care about any of these characters here. It's impossible to get invested in them because they don't do anything. They don't have any development. They're hardly fleshed out at all. They don't get anything to do except making bad decision after bad decision after bad decision and then eventually just getting lucky. So it's just, there's nothing to like about the second half. It was a huge fucking blunder, a big fumble, because, as I mentioned, the concept itself is fine. I don't understand why you'd even bother calling this an adaptation of Until Dawn in the first place, since you didn't do that. Really, the whole thing was just kind of a mess after the first half. That was a very weird set of decisions there for the film. So, not very good, but not as shitty as it could have been, I suppose. There's definitely worse video game adaptations out there, but this is definitely in, like, the bottom of the barrel, lower echelon of those, because we also get some very good video game adaptations from time to time now. This is not one of those, though. Anyway, that's really about it. So, yeah. I still can't believe the hogwash I just watched. I thought The Weeknd would never have something as bad as The Idol under his belt when it came to acting credits. How wrong I was. His new movie with Jenna Ortega just came out, Hurry Up Tomorrow. It debuted with a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes. That's a very accurate score. This film is so bad, I cannot even believe they released it. It is truly a film that is meant only for the most diehard Weeknd fans to do their absolute best to cope with and defend. Because there's no one else who's going to watch this and enjoy it, I don't think. Like, I'm not even just trying to be a Scrooge about it. This is just straight up textbook turbo ass. I wrote some notes while watching it. That's how you know it was bad. And I'd like to go over it here. There's going to be spoilers. If you can even spoil something like this. This is like spoiling a pile of dog shit. Like, there's only so much damage you could do to it and so much you could ruin about it. You know what I mean? This film wants so badly to be taken seriously, like trying to command the utmost respect. It tries to be artsy, it tries to be pretentious, it tries to deliver creative shots, but it can't do it. It's all so flat. So when it tries to make creative shots or be like cinematography, like try to be interesting from a cinematography standpoint, it just fails. The one shot that it uses like at least 30 times as a way of trying to be a little unique and quirky is it just spins the camera around rapidly really quick. So it'll do like a bunch of 360 hero shots of The Weeknd as he's just like staring at something, like having some kind of stunning revelation, or it'll spin really, really fast and then start blurring the screen. They do that no less than 10-15 times for some of these shots. That is their go-to bread and butter. It's not an interesting shot. It's disorienting. And it doesn't do anything. It's just fucking stupid. But that's really the whole film in a nutshell. Everything about it is stupid while trying to be deep. Anyway, enough foreplay. Let's get into it here. A lot of the film feels like it's just promotional material for The Weeknd's new music. Like, it really feels like a large chunk of this is you're just listening to a Weeknd concert, which is why I said it feels like it's just meant for Weeknd fans and nobody else. Like, they'll probably be happy just to hear the songs and then just defend the movie for that reason alone. I also like some of The Weeknd's music. You know what I don't like? Having my fucking time wasted. If I wanted to watch a Weeknd concert, I'd watch a video of it on YouTube or get tickets to go see it my fucking self. I don't want to sit here and watch a movie that's like a pseudo-intellectual take on Weeknd music. That's not fun. It really felt like it was just an advertisement for his music. So he plays himself. It is a self-insert. And Jenna Ortega plays a troubled fan. So the very first scene, outside of like the introduction, the very first scene is The Weeknd blowing a raspberry at the camera. I'm not kidding. That is actually the first scene. He just goes... And he does that for like actually 3 minutes. Now he's not staring down the pipe here of the camera, he's looking in the mirror doing this, and I understand this is a real vocal warm-up exercise doing that and just that kind of thing. But do you know how fucking dumb that is to start this movie with that? So anyway, he then continues all of his like pre-performance rituals. He's on a tour, so he's about to do a big performance, and he does. He does a whole song, and we get to watch it. Yippee. It is the whole song we watch. And then we get his next performance, and he's really angry about this breakup, so he's leaving an emotionally charged voicemail. He wants to cancel this one because he is not in a state to perform. His voice is all kind of, cattywampus, damaged, and he doesn't want to, like, hurt it further. And he's just really down in the dumps over this breakup. His heart's broken. But his manager, he doesn't let him. He forces him to do it. So he gets himself all hyped up. He gets, alcohol in his system. He gets, ripped and roaring. Leaves another, yelling, angry voicemail. You bitch! You're gonna be forgotten, but I'm a fucking legend. I'm The Weeknd, damn it. And then he goes out there and he eats shit. It is a bad performance. He is off his gourd, out of his mind. And that's when he locks eyes with Jenna Ortega. Now, Jenna Ortega, we saw in a previous scene light a house on fire and then drive away. We don't know why she did that yet, but that's what we've seen, and now she's at the Weeknd concert. They lock eyes, and they immediately have a spark, a connection. He then storms off the stage because he's just not ready to perform. He's all pissed off at his manager, so he's evacuating. Jenna Ortega, I'm calling her by her actual name because I don't even know what her character's name is in this movie. I don't think they said it. I think he maybe said something that sounded like Annie once, so maybe that's it. I also don't feel like looking it up either. It's just... if you can't even tell me a character's name and make it stick, then something has already gone awry. So Jenna hops the railing and then finds him backstage. They bump into each other, and then he says, "Do you want to come with me?" She says yes, and then they go on a date. They play air hockey and then ride scooters and then go back to his hotel together. It is a really uncomfortable series of scenes because, in the car, he's already crying. I shit you not, I feel like The Weeknd made this film just to prove he can cry on camera. Because in every scene he is tearing up and crying. I can't think of a scene that went by that didn't have him with tears in his fucking eyes, eating some French fries. It is unbelievable how many times he is crying. So he's even crying, on this date. And then they eventually go back to his hotel room. And he plays her a song, an unreleased track. He's like, I want to show you this. So he plays a song, and I wrote down some of the lyrics here, at least the ones that I could hear. It goes, Trying to fill this hole my father left so no one else abandons me. My mother. I missed some lyrics here or something, but it goes like, Mama, I'm sorry. It says it again, like, Mama, I'm sorry. I hope that I find what I'm looking for. And he plays this whole fucking song, by the way. This movie has such a problem of just dragging these scenes out to an agonizingly long duration that it is so uncomfortable. Like, he plays like a full fucking 4-minute song for her, and then she's tearing up about it too. Like, God. Like, you can get the point across with only like a minute, maybe. You don't need to play the entire discography. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just so unnecessarily long. So she starts crying, and then she's trauma dumping about how this song really touched her and like how she can relate to it so strongly because her dad also wasn't there for her and her mother was struggling. So this connection is so powerful. It's such a strong bond. They fuck. And it's a really artsy sex scene. Like, you don't actually see sex, but you see like shapes that resemble something sexual, maybe. I don't know. It's a series of stupid shots. It's like liquid silk moving around. And like, it honestly looked like bowling balls for a little minute there on screen, just like going by. Like, it's a weird scene. But they have sex. And then the next morning, the Weeknd's pretty callous towards her. He's talking about how he needs to go to the next stop on his tour. And she's like, well, take me with you. I want to go to Australia, which is where the next one is. And he's like, no. This was fun, but bye-bye. Godspeed. Good to see you. This was a great time. I don't want anything more with this. And now, Jenna Ortega has already received a call from her mother, who is very upset about her burning down the house. And she's already, like, upset because of that. And then the Weeknd's saying these things, and it hurts her. So she's like, well, you said you needed me last night. You don't ever want me to leave, and now you're leaving. This is ridiculous. And this is what has led to that viral clip that I know is floating around from this film where the Weeknd, in the most unenthusiastic tone ever, goes, shut the fuck up. God, oh my God, shut the fuck up. Like, it's become like a viral clip because he has this rant in the film where it actually sounds like the first take, like the actual line reading that they just said, that's good enough. It is terrible. Like, it is some of the worst acting you'll see on the big screen. I'm shocked that it is in here. So he's doing this rant about like how ridiculous she's being, and she needs to just like keep her mouth shut. Like, this is stupid. We don't even know each other. Maybe I'll call you, but who cares? Boo hoo. Like, oh, now you're all upset. So he's just being a douchebag. And he literally sounds the same way I sound when I get like a bad teammate in Marvel Rivals, where I'm a little annoyed. And this is supposed to be like a really emotional scene, but it is comical with how it's delivered. So then, after he has this whole rant at her, he then turns his back to leave, and she hits him in the back of the head and knocks him out. It's literally like out of Courage the Cowardly Dog when Muriel hits Eustace with like a fucking frying pan or something. So she now assaults him, knocks him out, and then ties him to the bed. While he's like in this ethereal state after getting a concussion, he like goes to hell. So he's like all alone in this version of the hotel. And he's now like wandering these like catacombs or like this big dark empty tunnel. And then he sees like a woman who's crouched. And then she goes like, boo! And it's a big jump scare moment. And it scares the Weeknd. And it's supposed to startle the audience. And now it becomes like a pseudo horror film. Oh my God, it's so dumb. I can't express to you how stupid it is. Like, it really is just, what were they thinking? What were they thinking? And then he like goes to a fire, and then there's like a kid there. I'm assuming it's all supposed to be like very metaphorical and full of symbolism. I'll get into a take I've seen on the film that I think might be what they were going for, but absolutely failed to like deliver. But I'll get to that in a moment. But after he awakes from that like nightmare, he's tied to the bed, and Jenna Ortega wants him to be honest about like what his music means, like he's fucked so many girls, but they're just numbers to him, except for this one girl that was really special. So then what she does, this is actually like pivotal to the film, and it goes on for probably close to 25 minutes. It's like the major chunk of the runtime. She goes through like 3 of his songs. One of them is Blinded by the Light, and she just dances to the songs. and then gives like a genius lyric breakdown of what it means. So she tries to soul read him, like Blinded by the Light is like your most honest song. It's like a very strong sense, or a very strong look into what you feel. And it's about this one girl who wasn't just a number to you, she was special, but you hurt her. You were toxic to her, and she broke your heart, and now it's breaking you, and you're writing about it in the song, and I can feel it in your music. And she's just like, now be honest with me and I'll untie you, I'll let you go. You're toxic, right? And he doesn't play ball with it, but he starts crying. And she's like, okay, another song then. She does the same thing. She dances to it for a while. The fucking whole song plays for the most part. Like, it is, the majority of the song plays. It is so unnecessary. So she's dancing to it, and she like breaks down the lyrics again, like, no, it's time to be honest. Maybe you're the toxic person. She's not toxic, right? So she just keeps berating him and like grilling him, going on and on about this. And during this sequence, 3 people left the theater. Over the course of like this, like maybe like 10-minute chunk while she was doing a couple of the songs, 3 separate people walked out of the movie. It's just not a good film. Like, there is nothing here to enjoy. I just wanted to make mention of that. So she continues to go through all of that. And then as she's like, you know, piercing, and it seems like he's about to start being honest with her, his manager shows up. He's banging on the door. He tracked the phone. He knows he's there. And Jenna answers the phone, or answers the door, tries to shoo him away, but he kicks the door in. Then the two get into a big, scuffle, and it ends with her stabbing him in the neck, killing him. And then the Weeknd, of course, sees the dead body, and she's covered in blood. So his manager's dead. She killed his manager, and now she's crying again. And the Weeknd's been crying like this whole time, so this is nothing new, but he's also crying. She starts pouring gasoline on him, like we saw in the first scene where she poured gasoline on the house. Now she's doing that to him, and then she's holding the lighter over him, about to light him on fire, killing him. Well, he's closes his eyes, and he's accepting his fate. He's coming to terms with everything, and he breaks out into a song. He breaks out into the I'm Sorry song. It's a song all about apologizing and like trying to be honest. I wrote down a couple of the lyrics here as well. He keeps repeating, "Mama, I'm sorry. Mama, I'm sorry. Now I'll burn for the way I treated you," or something. I didn't write them down verbatim, but it was the most like cringe, like almost fanfic level garbage. He breaks out into this song, and this song is like, it's longer than Freebird. It goes for so long. Sitting there covered in gasoline with her with the lighter over him. He's singing for so long, and it moves her so much, she decides not to light him on fire. She unties him. She lights the bed on fire, lights the whole apartment on fire. The Weeknd walks out. We don't see Jenna Ortega again. He walks out, and then he's looking at himself in the mirror as he exits the hallway, and he's getting ready for his next performance. The end. Pretty abrupt ending. Roll credits. It sucks. It really sucks. Now, I believe there's supposed to be a deeper message with all of this. I don't think it lands, and I have seen a theory that talks about it that I think is probably the closest we'll get. Jenna Ortega's character, most likely, I would think after watching this, was not a real person. I think it was a manifestation of the Weeknd's feelings about himself with the way that the relationship that actually meant something to him ended. And now Jenna Ortega is here trying to get through to him that he was the reason that the only good thing in his life, like the only like positive person and positive relationship that he's ever let in, is now gone. It was him being toxic, and Jenna Ortega was meant to be that force to get it through to him. But she wasn't a real character or anything, and what happened in that hotel room wasn't real, so like the burning of it was like symbolic of him, like, burning it to the ground and moving forward. I think that's probably right, but I also think there is an equal chance that it's not even fucking close, and this film is just surface level. Everything you see is what you get. I think there is a very real chance of that being it too. I feel like this could just be true cope, where people have now written something that can almost make sense in the context of this messy dog shit film. And if I was involved with the writing of this, I would latch on to this theory because it does fit to a certain extent. There are some inconsistencies and some plot holes if this actually is what they were going for, but it does kind of still fit, and it makes it a little more, like pinky out, artsy, but it doesn't make the movie any better, even if that is what it's actually supposed to mean and represent. It's still a bad film. There is still nothing to like about the film and no reason to care about The Weeknd in the first place in this movie. He's not even really a character. He is actually just performing the vast majority of this movie. He's really not doing anything or getting fleshed out or giving you any reason to get invested in anything you're watching. It's just a waste of time. It is so flat. So I am not surprised this film is getting slammed. It sucks. It is easily the worst film of the year right now. So yeah, I just want to talk about it a bit. That's it. So yeah. I see pretty much every sloppy, stinky horror film that comes out. It's something I have a lot of fun with, and I really thought I had seen it all when it comes to stupid characters or like a really dumb story. But what I just experienced with I Know What You Did Last Summer was a game changer. It's a new horizon here. I didn't know it was possible to make characters this dumb. They somehow accidentally made every character on screen Patrick Star. It's unfathomable how everything that exists in this film is insulting to the human intellect. Every character is like if Moron did a fusion dance with Idiot. It's a wacky blend of lunacy here. So this is the third I Know What You Did Last Summer film, and it does take place in that universe. It's not like a soft reboot or anything. It is the third movie, and it does even have the legacy characters from the other films. It has Jennifer Love Hewitt in it. It has Freddie Prinze Jr. in it. And they do play their iconic characters. And my God, what they chose to do with them here, I would be firing my agent for even getting me in this movie. I would be pissed. They must have been paid out the ass here, clams out the wazoo, to say yes to a script like this. Everything about this film is really dumb. But it is fun bad at times. I'm going to be getting into spoilers here, obviously. This is your warning. Now this spoiler warning is over. So I Know What You Did Last Summer. I'm sure most of you know they do something bad and then they're getting punished for the thing they did bad. To boil it down to the simplest bare butt cheeks of what the premise is. They are in their car. They think they hit and kill someone. It ends with them getting killed, basically in an act of karma. There's a second film, but that's the bread and butter. This film has a new cast that on 4th of July, they're celebrating by going for a drive, and they've been drinking, they're smoking, and one of them, his name is Teddy. He's playing in the street, and there's a car coming, and he wants to play chicken with it, so he's like, yeah, I'll take the car on. Yeah, come on, get him over here. I'll punch the car like I'm fucking Chris Redfield with a boulder. So he's sitting there and everyone's like, Teddy, get out of the road, you're gonna get hit by a car. And he refuses to, which leads to a car coming, it swerves, and then it blasts through the safety rail. They're on a cliff's edge, and the car is teetering on the edge about to fall, but the driver's still alive and he doesn't want to die. They're trying to save him, to no avail, falls off the edge, and the driver is most likely dead, but they're debating, what do we do? We need to go down there and try and help them, but there's no way of getting down there. They're so fucking high up, there's no way to get there. So Teddy decides to call the police, and then the police are showing up, and turns out the guy died. But they made the decision not to go to the police station to report what happened. They were afraid that they'd get in trouble. They were afraid that they'd get slapped with manslaughter charges. So immediately it's clear everyone in the cast just blew in from Stupid Town. That doesn't make any goddamn sense. This was truly an accident. And they didn't do anything wrong per se. They called the police. They did want to help. They did try and help to save this guy and get him out of the car and, save his life after this, tragedy was unfolding. But then they make the decision not to report what happened. When if they did, they likely wouldn't have been in big trouble. That's a very easily explainable thing to the authorities. And it's not it was a drunk driving situation. They even made it clear that the girl driving, Danica, she was sober. So, like, it wasn't, like, really no one was at fault except for Teddy for being, like, rambunctious in the middle of the road and not getting out of the way in time. Which, you know, sucks, but it's not like they did something, like, downright evil, and they did do everything right after that, besides just telling the police about it. When, if they did, there'd be no problem at all, I imagine. But anyway, they don't. They make the decision to keep it a secret, and then, of course, you know how the rest of the story goes. A year rolls around, and somehow the situation there comes back to haunt them. The guy may be dead, but someone is picking off all of the people associated with the accident. Is the guy even dead in the first place? Are they being hunted by a ghost? And this guy is dressed up the same as the original from 1996. He's got the fisherman's jacket on. They call it a slicker. He's using a hook. And he's slaughtering anyone that was associated with that. And of course, he uses the signature, "I know what you did last summer," when he sends a card to them. It's really, like, bad in comparison to the original premise, where they did do something, like, actually wrong and, like, try and get away with it. In here, it was an actual accident. They didn't do anything wrong, but then just decided not to tell the authorities, like, how that tragedy unfolded. For some reason, they were just, like, really fearful of consequences that they likely would not have faced. But that's what sets everything in motion. And that's, like, far from the worst writing in the film. But I just wanted to express that even the general premise, like what gets this started, I think is really dumb. Like, I think it's super stupid. But even dumber than that is how all the characters handle this. They know that someone is out to kill them. Yet they take no precaution at all to protect themselves. Like, best example is Teddy. Teddy's in a sauna, and someone writes on the window there in Steam, "You're next." And Teddy's just like, he gets a big frown. And then the next scene, we see Teddy outside drinking some brewskis, and then for some reason, he's got like a malfunction in his gate. So he goes and tries to fix it, but he walks down this dark alleyway, knowing full well, this is right after the sauna, message, knowing full well that the killer is out to get him. This doesn't trigger any alarm bells in his noodle. But as he's walking down the hallway, there is a figure in a fisherman's jacket outlined who is standing very still. It is clearly visible, even though the alley is dark. You can clearly see that the killer is standing right there. And for some reason, Teddy brushes shoulders with him to hit the button that they're blocking. And it doesn't, like, I thought it was like a power move or something. Like he's asserting his dominance. He's so alpha. Because they were kind of like positioning him as that kind of character. But no, that's not it at all. Somehow he just didn't notice that the fisherman's jacket was the killer, even though they had already identified that that's what he wears. And it's not like that's a normal thing for the hallway. Like there's like a mannequin or something that was there that the killer was standing in front of. But there's no way you could possibly confuse the two. And it was clearly visible. But for some reason he just goes and like, I don't know, it excuses himself next to this guy, like, "Pardon me, sir, I gotta hit this button." And then he, of course, gets killed. And, like, he's really surprised that he's getting killed. He's like, "Oh my god, the master of stealth has struck again." Like, it's worse than the AI in an Assassin's Creed game. I could not believe that scene. At every possible step in this film, the characters make the worst decision possible. Another example, using Teddy and Danica. They're at a cemetery, they're investigating. The person that died, his name was Sam Cooper. Apparently, drug addict. He had no one close to him. His man is a phantom. But they find that he's got a tombstone. So they go to check it. It turns out there's some fresh flowers there. So they want to check the cameras to see who placed those flowers, because that'd be a pretty clear indication that someone was close to Sam Cooper and is killing them in an act of revenge because that accident led to Sam Cooper's death. Anyway, they're partnered up for safety. Yet for some reason, when it comes to checking the camera, only Teddy goes to do that. Danica just shoos him away, and Teddy volunteers, well, kind of volunteers, to go check the cameras, knowing full well the killer is hot in their butthole. Like, at any moment could pop up and kill them. For some reason, they split up like that. And then, can you believe it? He shows up. The killer shows up, but luckily Teddy was able to save Danica before things got too hairy. It's so stupid. Like, why did you split up in the first place there, knowing full well that there is a killer on the loose? Just executing people. He's already killed 2 people. It's just unbelievable. And then they continue, like, for example, Danica's fiance got murdered by the killer. He wasn't at the scene or anything, but the killer is just, like, annihilating everyone, even, like, remotely in the same vicinity as the core cast. So he kills the fiance, and yet she continues to stay in that same fucking house for the whole film. Not only her, but everyone goes to that house where that murder has taken place just fucking like a day ago. Like, the blood is still, like, on the walls. Like, it is still so fresh. His spirit is probably still haunting those walls, and you are using it as home base, a place the killer already clearly knows inside and out and has no problem getting to and killing. Why are you staying there? Like, go to anywhere else. Go to the goddamn local Denny's and camp out, like, anywhere. What is the thought process here? And every time they go back to that house, somebody dies or gets close to it. It's so dumb. It's like, you can't, even if you took the actual statistically provable dumbest person alive right now on Earth, the actual jackpot lottery winning biggest moron, I think even they would make better decisions than anyone in this movie did. I could keep yapping about this and using other examples, and I just might, but I want to get to what I think is the most egregious demonstration of just disrespect to the franchise that you are adding to. This is the big spoiler. The killer is, of course, a tag team up, a dynamic duo, which has become a favorite in horror movie slashers these days, where it is Ray, Freddie Prinze Jr.'s Ray, you know, the one that went through so much trauma in the first 2 movies. It's Ray who's killing most of them, and then one of the characters in the cast, Stevie, who was there when Sam Cooper met their unfortunate demise from that accident. The motive behind this is Sam Cooper was actually Stevie's love interest. They were, like, really close. Like, they loved each other. And Sam was worried about Stevie on that night, so went to find her, but then that ended up in tragedy. And Ray made a promise to Stevie's parents that he'd look after her. So when he heard that the man she loved died because of that accident, Ray just snaps and decides, we're going to cook up this year-long revenge plan where we're going to murder all of your friends and I guess anyone they even touch, because they now all got the cheese touch. Anyone they touch, we're going to kill. In the same way that all of my friends were killed and has traumatized me for fucking 3 decades now. 2 movies worth. I'm going to help you do that. An actual, like, dog shit brain idea. Why would you do, like, the motive isn't even strong for either of these characters, by the way, because when Stevie is monologuing and she reveals to Danica and Danica and Ava that it's her that's been killing and says all that about Sam Cooper, when she's monologuing, Ava correctly points out that Stevie was also there at the scene that night and also decided to leave without telling the police and keep it a secret, which is, like, I think a checkmate. It's like, Ava's right, you did do that. Why are you now killing all of us when you are just as guilty? And her excuse was, well, I didn't know it was Sam Cooper at the time. And it's like, well, what the fuck? It's still a really flimsy motive for all of this. Like, you are still just as culpable as the rest of the people you are killing right now. It's unhinged. They couldn't even make a good motive for Ray to break bad here and become the villain, and couldn't even make a good motive for Stevie being, one of the killers. It's so weak. It is so fucking weak. And keep in mind, they did do everything right except not giving their statement to the police, but they did call the authorities to try and get help. They tried to help him themselves. It just, ultimately, there was nothing that could be done after the accident had occurred. He was dead no matter what. Sam Cooper did not survive. Even if they did try and somehow, like, rappel down there and get to him, he was dead. So, like, Stevie, everything about this fucking movie is so stupid. I don't need to keep blabbering on about it, but it was crazy to me that they actually made Ray the killer. And what's even crazier is how predictable it was, too. I was just really hoping I was wrong. You see, This film actually tells you who the killer is in the first, like, 15-ish minutes. Basically, like, the first, or the second kill, they tell you who the killer is. But you, as the viewer, someone who's maybe seen the previous two I Know What You Did Last Summer films, don't want to believe that because it's so dumb. But it turns out they really did just go, like, that stupid with it. In the first 15-20 minutes, they introduce this character. Her name is Tyler. And she has a true crime podcast, and she's in this area because she's doing a piece on the murders for the I Know What You Did Last Summer, OG, the 1997 murders. She's doing a piece on it, and she takes Ava to this place that is significant to that lore, and the killer strikes there. It's Ray. Ray is the killer there. And Ava kind of gets the best of him, slashes him with a knife, and then Ray, changes his focus to killing Tyler. Oh my god, you know what I just forgot to mention? Another one of Ray's main motivators that he himself says from his own fucking lips is that another big thing that made him want to do this is he didn't like how the history had been scrubbed because the, rich people came in and they tried to erase the town's history with those murders because it wasn't appealing to investors in real estate. So they buried it and hid the truth. And Ray said he didn't want to be forgotten. Well, you know what would help you not be forgotten, Ray? Maybe if you didn't kill the podcaster who has apparently a very popular podcast about those murders, and she was there to make a piece on those murders, but for some reason he decides to kill her as well. So it's not even like a whole thing about revenge, and it's not even in line with what he wants to do about getting his name back out there so people don't forget the atrocities. It just doesn't make any sense. But anyway, I keep getting lost on tangents because it is actually that incomprehensibly stupid. I can't help but just fucking keep yapping about it. Anyway, as he's cornered Tyler, he gets her on the hook, and she rips off the top of the fisherman's cloak, and she says, "You." And the reason that's significant is because she has only encountered one person in this film outside of Ava, and we know it's not Ava because Ava was just attacked downstairs. And that person is Milo, who was another one of the cast that was at the scene with Sam Cooper, and I thought could be like a viable candidate to be this killer, like maybe there was some kind of hidden connection with Sam Cooper, but it's only Milo, and then of course, Ray. Also Julie, because Julie and Ray both survivors of the murders that she is covering on the podcast, but it can't be Julie because she is just not even in this area at all, and that's well established. So it has to be either Milo and Ray, but it can't be Milo because Milo dies not long after. It has to be Ray, and it's pretty clear it's Ray with the way she says "you." So they immediately let you know it's Ray, but it's so hard to come to terms with them going that direction that I refuse to believe it. I thought it was Milo, and I thought Milo was faking his death. Like, that's how much copium I was on, that this film wouldn't be that stupid, but it is actually that stupid. I am shocked at how bad the writing here is and how dumb all the characters are. Oh, another thing. It's not only an insult to Freddie Prinze Jr.'s character here with what they did with Ray, but Julie, Jennifer Love Hewitt, her character is useless here. She's brought in, and she doesn't really help at all when they go to her because obviously there's big similarities between what she went through and what they're going through, so they track her down. Ava goes to her and tells her what's happening, and she's like, okay, well, you need to kill him before he kills you. Well, she doesn't say it with like that directly, that blunt, but she says, you need to find who this is. No shit, Julie. Obviously, they need to find who it is. What kind of tactics are those? That's not helpful. Obviously, they need to do that. They were already in the process of doing that. And she doesn't offer anything beyond that, really. Like, she pops up here and there where she's kind of like on her own thinking about it, and then Ray goes to her place. They've had like a really rough split from the marriage, which is never really explored why, but apparently he's like repressed all the trauma and it like took a toll on the relationship or something. But he goes there and he says, Julie, like, you really shouldn't be telling them to do that. And then he leaves. And then at the end of the movie, somehow Julie figures it out because Ava tells her Stevie was the killer. And Julie's like, well, Stevie couldn't be working alone. So she Googles it and turns out Ray and Stevie work at the bar together. And thus she knew it had to be Ray working with Stevie to kill all of them in the similar fashion to what happened to them. She figures all that out, drives down there to confront them to try and save Ava, because she knows Ava is there. But she shows up unarmed. She calls the police, sure, but the police aren't there. She shows up to the bar unarmed, not even knowing if Ava is alive. And then when Ray is monologuing, just fucking trauma dumping, exposition vomiting, Julie just stands there and still has nothing to do to try and protect Ava, who's already been stabbed. She doesn't have a gun. She doesn't have a baseball bat or anything at all. Why would someone like Julie, who's been through so much and now knows that this killer is about to harm Ava, whom she's grown to care about, why would she show up with nothing to do to try and defend Ava? That made no sense to me. It was so silly. Like, the cops weren't even there or anything either, so she actually offered nothing other than maybe like a convenient distraction for someone else Ray could kill while Ava was already injured. And what ends up happening is Ava shoots Ray with a fucking harpoon and kills him. But like, it was so weird to me because why wouldn't she just be armed? In her home, it's shown that she takes her security very seriously. She's got like a bunch of cameras around. She's very attentive. But even there, she doesn't have any weapons. Like when there is like alerts on her phone, which ended up being Ray showing up, she didn't like pull out a gun or anything. She grabbed a pair of scissors. Why would she not be prepared for, something like this when she very much clearly cares about the security of herself as well as someone like Ava? It just didn't make sense to me why she wouldn't go there with like a plan. I don't know. Like everything about this film, they made every character so dumb. And not only that, I think there was like a bit of an identity crisis when writing this movie because it seemed like there were times where it wanted to break through with self-awareness and comedy. Like it tried to make like humor about some of the tropes. And what I mean by this is, for example, Danica's fiance dies. Well, in the next scene where they're at the police station, she's crying because her fucking husband was just murdered in her home and she walked in on the corpse that also had a message written in blood about not being able to escape the past. Well, now she's at the police station and she's making jokes. Like she's crying, but then she makes a joke where she's like, so does that mean I'm a widow now? And Ava's like, yeah, a hot widow. And she goes, the hot is implied. And it's like, what the fuck? After that? Like, it's like, I think it's supposed to be traumatic, right? You would think. But if you want to, like, go for a comedy route, you can make that work with, like, playing everything off as a joke. But it doesn't. It only has, like, select scenes like that. Most of it is played off very, very seriously. Granted, they don't execute the seriousness very well just because everything is so flat and lackluster. But, like, there's only a couple of random moments where, like, they use comedy at all. And it comes at the weirdest times. I don't really get it because it's not setting itself up to be, like, a comedic film at all. Like, it's very far removed from that. But it just has these inexplicable lines where they, like, insert a joke during, like, the most tense situations and then immediately go back to playing it really straight. I don't understand. Very interesting tone there, I guess. And then at the end of the movie, this is something I imagine a lot of people will mention with the way the film ends, like after all is settled. The last lines of dialogue between Ava and Danica, they're the only two that survive. They're eating lunch after their stay in the hospital from the injuries they sustained. And Danica goes, OMG, I think you're like my soulmate. Or no, she doesn't say OMG. She says, Ava, I think you're my soulmate. And Ava says, I am your soulmate. And then she goes, Diva's up. And then makes a mention. This is actually in the movie. She says, Stevie's still alive. Stevie being the killer. And then Danica's like, you think we should kill her? And Ava goes, that's a little extreme, but yeah. That's the way that's the way they send the movie out. Well, kind of. There's like a mid-credit scene. I can't believe I actually stayed for the mid-credit scene. I had a feeling they were going to do something else because I thought they'd show Stevie surviving because Stevie gets shot by Ray, but turns out he didn't actually shoot her. It was all to, get Stevie out of there. But I thought they were going to show Stevie or something as like I know what you did last summer, coming soon again. But instead what they do is they have Julie go to her old roommate's house and show a picture where the roommate is X'd off, and she had received this. So they need to team up to take down this killer that's after them now. It's fucking awful. It's really bad. The movie is really, really bad. Worse than you're expecting. I mean it when I say these are the dumbest characters I've seen. Maybe in general, for like a slasher film, it is shocking how stupid they are. I'm not going to keep yapping about it. I could. There's even more dumb shit I could talk about with the characters in here, but what is even the point? It's already been like 20 minutes of me yapping about this, and I don't think anyone even cares about the movie that much in the first place, but I couldn't help myself. I'm actually spitting. I don't know if you can see the spit coming through here, but I'm actually spitting. Anyway, that's really about it. See ya. I'm not exaggerating with the title. This is an honor I don't bestow upon things willy-nilly. I think most of you know that. For me to claim that something is the worst I've experienced in whatever category, that is an honor that is extraordinarily rare. It's like being knighted by the Queen. To be the worst movie I've ever seen, you have to move mountains. Because I see so many bad movies. It is one of my favorite pastimes is watching bad films because I get a lot of enjoyment out of a really fun bad movie. And I see so many. And of every movie I've ever seen, Amazon Prime's War of the Worlds is the worst. It has now taken that crown, which was a crown worn by what I still believe to be one of the most bafflingly dog-shitty movies ever produced, called Let's Be Evil. It wore this crown for 9 years. It had a good run. It should be very proud of itself, but on August 4th, 2025 years after the death of Christ, we have now found the worst film that humanity has produced so far. I wrote down a lot, so we're going to really dive into the spaghetti and the meatballs here. Spoiler warning. Don't think you should care about spoilers, but they're there anyway. I really am not exaggerating with how unbelievably horrible this film is. And it's not even like it is objectively the worst thing film has ever been used for. Like, there have been worse productions, but this is an insult to the entire medium of making movies. It's not a movie. What you're watching is one big ad for Amazon. War of the Worlds is a property that's somewhat sentimental to me, and to see it bastardized and perverted into this homunculus that Amazon molded it into is nothing shy of criminal. If aliens truly did invade this planet and exterminate every single one of us, not even they could wipe the stain of this film's existence from the galactic tomes of time. This has been so catastrophically abominable that I think just the existence of this film has set our species back hundreds of years. It is unreal that this even got made. And I looked it up. Apparently this was made back in like the pandemic, so like in 2020, and they just squatted on it, keegling it in their colon for the last 5 years, and then just randomly decided to drop it now. I don't know why. It should have just stayed there. They should have buried it. This should have never seen the light of day. This is a tomb, a sarcophagus we should have never opened. So War of the Worlds, I'm being very literal, is an advertisement for Amazon. It's an affront to the entire art of making a movie. Anyway, let's go ahead and cannonball into the pool here. It stars Ice Cube, and the film tries to be creative by emulating what some films have in the past with something like Searching, where it's all presented through a computer display. So you're seeing Ice Cube and all of the events unfolding and all the characters through FaceTimes and emails and anything that's on his monitor. So you see Ice Cube through his webcam, and that's how you experience the movie. It was a clever gimmick when it was used in Searching. In here, it's just really annoying. And the movie actually feels like it's written by a 13-year-old who just learned how to code with C#. Like, it's all about hacking. Ice Cube is like an expert hacker in a DHS program that's spying on everyone through mass surveillance, and he can actually do anything. He is basically omniscient. He can hack every possible atom on this planet, and he can see every nook and cranny of this world through computers and drones and even just air itself, it seems like. There is nothing that escapes his gaze. And the film, what you'll notice right away is it looks terrible, atrocious. And I don't mean that by just big budget standards. I mean by even like indie and student film standards. The visuals here are so bad. Look up any scene from this movie, probably even in the trailers. I haven't bothered to check the trailers. Lord help us. I can't imagine consuming more of War of the Worlds beyond what I've already consumed here from this. But like, look at any scene from this film, like when the aliens are present. It really does look like this was thrown together in one afternoon. It looks like previs. It looks like Sonic the Hedgehog before they redesigned him. Like, it is just hard to look at. Like, it's painful. It looks like PlayStation 1 cutscenes used to look. I cannot believe that they actually gave this the green light to be viewable by us. I feel dirty for watching it. It's so incomplete looking. I don't even know how you make movies look this bad in this day and age. Like, even just your stock assets that you can just freely use look so much cleaner than everything here. And the crazy thing is, it uses so much CGI. Almost the entire film after the aliens arrive is showing you aliens and destruction and CGI explosions, and there's even like a drone sequence laser fight, and it really does, I'm not like exaggerating, it really does look so bad. Like, it looks like they made the whole film for $10. Like, they just hired a couple of people from Fiverr and gave them a week to work on it. That was the deadline. I don't know how they could possibly achieve such bad visuals. And this is an Amazon Prime movie. What the fuck? They have actual infinite money. Unbelievable. This movie is like if Birdemic was an ad for Amazon. And I haven't even begun even talking about the unhinged insanity that is the plot. But before even getting to that, it's important we make a mention, nobody in this movie is acting. Like, there's actually... The acting is a word that must have been forbidden on set. All they are doing is reading plainly from their scripts with no acting except for Ice Cube occasionally doing the eye twitch. That's it. There is no acting in this movie. It feels like what AI would generate if you asked it to make, like, a War of the Worlds Amazon Prime ad. And, like, you wanted it to star Ice Cube. I don't... Like, what the fuck are they doing? Like, this must have just been, like, a really easy paycheck. But they also just didn't even want to put in the bare minimum for it. Like, I feel like the talent here was kind of embarrassed to be working on it, so they didn't really want to give a ton of effort. That's how it comes across. So now, with all of that out of the way, let's talk about, like, the narrative. So, the movie starts with Ice Cube. He's in his lair. He's spying on everyone, which includes his son and his daughter and his daughter's boyfriend. His daughter is pregnant. Her name is Faith. And he's a real grumpy guy after the passing of his wife. And he sends her messages on Facebook. Of course, it's not reciprocated because she's dead. He listens to an old voicemail about, like, taking out the trash and being nice to the kids, which is an interesting thing to have to remind your husband to be nice to your children. Well, yeah, he is an unreasonable asshole to them. He even, like, calls his son... Well, actually, he hacks his son's computer so he can uninstall a video game from it. He just randomly hacks into his son's computer, saw that he was enjoying a video game, uninstalls it and says, "You need to get a job, you loser. You fucking bum. You're a loser. You're a loser. We paid $200K for your education. You're a fucking loser. Get a job. Get a job." And then hangs up on him. He really just beats the message home that he hates video games and thinks video games are dumb. But anyway, he's got a task right now at work where he's trying to catch the Disruptor, a hacker who's threatening to release classified government documents through a YouTube video. So he posts a YouTube video. It says, "I will be releasing top secret documents about their Goliath program." And so now Ice Cube has to stop him from releasing those documents. So he tracks his IP through the YouTube video using his elite hacking tools, which again it's basically God mode. He is a server admin of life. Ice Cube he literally just types in words. So he types in, like, "disrupt their home address, please get," And it's like, calculating, IP gotten, here's exactly where Disruptor is. And he can do that for anything. He can type in anybody's name, literally anybody's name, and it somehow gets the exact person he wants it to be, even though obviously other people are going to share that name, but somehow it always hones in on the right person, and then gives him like the closest drone so he can spy on them, or the closest like CCTV camera to spy on them. Like, the technology it's like fucking Fantastic Four level almost, where you can like teleport and shit, basically. Like, they've reached quantum surveillance. So anyway, they've got Disruptor's IP. They then go and storm the IP there. But before that, of course, he needs to hack into his daughter's computer because he learns from her boyfriend that she's having a baby shower and he didn't get an invite, so it made him upset. So he hacks into his daughter's computer using TeamViewer, where he uses his tools to generate a master key to TeamViewer so he can log into anybody's account with the master key password. So now he's on his daughter's computer reading her messages, and he starts feeling bad because she's like, my dad doesn't get it. And he's like, oh man, as he's hacked into his daughter's shit. So now, anyway, we learn about Mark. That's her boyfriend. He's an Amazon Prime driver. He's an Amazon delivery driver who really likes Prime. And one of the lines that they reuse like 6 times is like his son Dave says, you know, I really think you're overdoing it, Dad. We don't need the government to be, you know, checking out what we put in our Amazon cart. Any opportunity to wiggle the word Amazon out of every character's mouth with a little positivity following it was taken in this film. So Mark really likes being an Amazon driver. Ice Cube gets a message from a NASA contact of his, and she's analyzing weird, wacky, freaky weather phenomena. And he doesn't really care. He doesn't want to watch that. He says, I spy on people, not clouds, or something. Anyway, they go to the Disruptor address. Turns out Disruptor was a step ahead of them. It was a decoy, one of his infamous decoys that he's become known for. But while they're there, the aliens crash land. A bunch of meteors start crashing, and they're blowing up buildings and cars, and people are freaking out, going crazy, because everyone's under attack. And they show you so many sequences of the carnage, and I am not exaggerating, again, it looks so bad. Like, think about Sharknado, but unironically. Like, with no self-awareness. And used primarily to try and get you to buy Amazon Prime. It's like vomit-inducing how awful it is. Like, in one of the clips, by the way, to showcase the acting prowess that people brought to the table here, in one of the clips, the news reporter is filming one of the meteors, the aliens, crashing into a school, and she goes, wow, this one just crashed into my kids' school. They're all dead. And she says that deadpan, super calmly. Her kid was at that school, is now dead along with all the other children, and that's her reaction to it. And then they cut to the next sequence of terror. It was so crazy. But anyway, now everyone's in a panic, so Ice Cube's getting called in by the government, the president, everyone, all the moving pieces, and they all do it through Zoom, a Zoom call, so that way we can watch it, because that's how we're experiencing this film. We're a computer screen, basically. So anything on there we see, and everyone is always FaceTiming and on Zoom, which is probably the least efficient way they could be communicating, but they're doing it for our pleasure, not efficiency. So they start working on the Planetary Alliance. That took 5 seconds. The whole world unites to form the Planetary Alliance, basically on that call. And they start trying to figure out what they do next. So the big thing is the Planetary Alliance decides, let's start fighting back. So they get the tanks out, they get the jets out, and they're taking the aliens down almost effortlessly. So Ice Cube is watching like a real-time sports tracker of victories versus defeats that is calculating every victory and every defeat across the globe, and we are slaughtering the aliens. Like, we are absolutely clapping their cheeks on our home turf. We got like 100-something victories to only like 40 losses, and Ice Cube's main thing that he does for this montage is he just goes, yeah, damn right, take your intergalactic asses home, was one of his lines. So he's basically just cheering him on. A lot of this movie is Ice Cube just like reacting to something. Like when the aliens are crashing and killing kids, he goes, damn, damn, damn. Like that's about all he does there. But now that we're winning, he's like, yeah! Anyway, though, during all the hubbub, his daughter gets injured when the aliens attack, and she gets a big boo-boo to her leg, and she's bleeding, and it's very intense. Ice Cube doesn't want to lose his daughter, so she's FaceTiming her dad, and, worrying that she's about to die, and Ice Cube's like, don't worry, I'm gonna come get you. For the first time, he's actually about to, leave the office, but it turns out he's locked in. So he hacks it to let himself out, but then he's locked in at the lower levels too. So then he gives up and immediately goes back to his chair. And then he's like, all right, don't worry, I've got another idea. So on FaceTime, he got her location, used the drones, saw that there was a Tesla nearby, hacked the Tesla, and then got her to get in the Tesla and drove her away with remote controlling the Tesla to get her to a hospital. But all the hospitals are full. So now he recruits Mark to go save his daughter, Faith. It's like the worst attempt at trying to get you emotionally invested because you just do not care. Because it really feels like Ice Cube does not care. There is no emotional weight to anything here. It is so stale and so flat. It almost felt like they were laughing while filming this. Like they knew how bad it was. So anyway, now his daughter's, she's in a pickle, but Mark's on the way, and he works for Amazon, so he's basically a fucking superhero. And during this, ride, as he's, remote controlling her to safety, because she was about to just get killed by the alien, she gives him a lecture on how powerless he is. So he's, apologizing for being a bad dad, and she's like, oh my gosh, who ordered the Yappuccino? Jesus Christ, old man, you just don't get it. After mom died, you thought you could save her, and then you thought you could, save the whole world, and then you thought you could save anybody, but you can't. Get it through your thick skull, you can't save anyone, you are powerless, move on. And she drives that point home as he is literally saving her life. Without him, she would have died. He is literally saving her as she is giving this lecture. It's very hypocritical. I don't know what they thought they were cooking with that, because it didn't really match the scene. So anyway, he gets on the horn with the president because things are all cattywampus, and they're starting to fight back, and that's when he gives the title drop. He gives the name drop, title of the movie. He says, "All right, I see no other option other than to initiate the War of the Worlds," about the Planetary Alliance stepping up their counteroffensive against the aliens. Which I guess was a really cool moment where you're supposed to pump your fist. Yeah, initiate the War of the Worlds. Dave then calls his pops. He lets old man Ice Cube know that he knows more than Ice Cube thinks he does. He's not just a video game playing dweeb. He knows why the aliens are here. They're after something called Goliath. Which, interestingly, is what Disruptor kind of mentioned earlier. We'll get to that in a moment, but there might be a bit of a plot twist coming up if you can connect the very subtle dots. So Dave is talking about, Dad, you need to trust me. There's something called Goliath and the aliens are here, but Ice Cube is like, you're a fucking moron, son. Get it through your thick skull. I'm so disappointed in you. You're a gamer. You make me sick. Don't you ever call me again. And then hangs up on him. He just berates him again and then literally hangs up on him. As his daughter is, bleeding out and shit, he doesn't even care about the safety of Dave. He's just like, can you stop fucking calling me? Stop it, you play games, I don't want to hear from you. And Dave is trying to let him know, hey, look, there's something we could do here, I know what's going on. And then it turns out the aliens, as they're getting their shit pushed in by humanity's weapons, they change tactics and start targeting data centers, and they put their tentacles into data centers, and they start hyper downloading all of our data, which ends up draining all of our data, which shuts off the military. So they hit the power switch on the military, and then spontaneously every battleship, every plane, every helicopter falls out of the sky or blows up, and now we can't fight the aliens anymore aside from just small arms fire on the ground. Everything else is now shut down because they drained our data centers. And interestingly, it's like they forgot this plot point. I'm getting ahead of myself. But just know this was a crucial moment where they turned the tides. The aliens turned the tides on us by draining all of our sweet data. So the NASA lady was at one of the data centers when this happened, and she noticed these little bugs. Little bugs like to eat data. They consume it. They like data.
And what happens is she connects the dots is that they're here for our data. They must eat our data, and they must like all this data we have on all of our citizens and all of the people across the globe. They want our data. And as they continue draining us, they make a mention that all money in the world is gone. Money has been erased. Oil tankers are blowing up. And we've been set back to the Stone Ages. Lights are turning off. The world's gone dark, in their words. It really feels like, I'm not kidding, it feels like this movie was written by a child. Like, everything happens like this, too. Like, the aliens come, and then we shot them with tanks, and they didn't like it. So what they did is they shut down the military. They turned off the military, and then they erased all of our money, and it disrupted the chain of command, and then all the lights turned off, but because of our data. It's so bad. It's so, like, bafflingly bad. I cannot believe a human being wrote this. Like a real sentient person. Like, this could have been written by an alien. Like, it might have been. I don't understand it. Also, Facebook is being deleted. This was a crucial moment. Not only is all money being erased, but websites are being erased. Facebook is getting deleted, and Ice Cube is there on his wife's Facebook page, taking one last look at it as messages are vanishing. He's listening to the audio message again, and then it does the classic cliche as it turns off. And then it vanishes, and then 404s. But it's not every website. YouTube actually still exists because that becomes a crucial plot device here towards the end of the film. But Facebook is gone. So Disruptor goes live on YouTube, and he mentions Goliath. Like, the aliens are here because of Project Goliath. The government knew Project Goliath would summon the aliens because they love data. The government knew that more data would mean aliens will full-scale invade us. And then the big reveal, Ice Cube figures out Disruptor is his son. Who could have seen that coming, huh? That's quality writing right there. It was really subtly planted, but they pulled it off. So his son then tries to convince him that the government is lying to him. The government is, not super trustworthy. And Ice Cube's like, get out of town! What are you talking about? You're fucking stupid. You're like a gamer and shit. I would never trust you. You're a criminal now, actually, too. This is stupid. No, there's no such thing as Goliath. They wouldn't lie to me. And his son is just like, look, Dad, listen, I'm going to send you Goliath. Just take a peek. And he's like, okay, buddy, but I already know there's nothing in here that's going to convince me. He even says that verbatim. There's nothing in these files that will convince me that what you did is right. And he opens the files, and the first line is about, like, the Roswell crash, I think it was. It was like an alien crash, and it said, like, weird weather phenomena, aliens, and data. In one sentence, he goes, oh my God, my son was right. The government's been lying to me this whole time. He read a sentence, one sentence, and immediately he's like, oh my God, he's absolutely right. And then, of course, he scrubs through the other alien pieces and then learns Project Goliath is a big data collection program, exactly like his son was saying. I don't know why he was so adamant about it being far-fetched conspiracy theory mumbo-jumbo, because his son was just telling him, like, Dad, Goliath is all about collecting our data on a bigger scale. Like, Goliath is, like, really big mass surveillance. And he's like, that's just not possible. I am the mass surveillance, and there's nothing more advanced than what I've got. Like, I don't know why that idea was so, like, incomprehensible to him, because he already has all of that basically at his fingertips. The only difference with Goliath is that it could also read people's thoughts, kind of, like it analyzed their thoughts better. So, like, it was only, like, one step forward where Ice Cube already was, and yet he's like, that's just a conspiracy. Nope, that wouldn't happen. The government wouldn't do that. They wouldn't do that. We don't do anything like that. They wouldn't do that. It was just so weird. I don't know why I'm harping on that so much. The whole movie fucking sucks. There are so many inconsistencies and so much wrong with it. But that in particular really stood out to me. Anyway, we then learn that Briggs, who is one of his contacts we've seen throughout the film sporadically, is actually the guy who spearheaded Project Goliath and was fully aware that by launching Project Goliath with this mass surveillance, the data collection was so grand in scale that it would summon aliens. Don't know how they knew that. There is no explanation for how they fucking knew that this level of data collection was what would be the beacon to bring all of the aliens to fucking spring break over here to eat it. I don't know how they analyzed that, but they knew that if they launched Project Goliath, it'd be a full-scale invasion. Even Briggs knew and just didn't care. He didn't give a fuck. He said, let them come. We'll beat them on our turf. Which we were until they sucked our data, which of course they knew was going to happen because they're drawn to data, yet they're all surprised when they go suck our fucking data. Like, they're on here on our cocks here, literally sucking the life out of our dicks with all this data, and they knew that, yet for some reason did nothing to stop that. It's, oh my god, it's so fucking dumb. Anyway, Ice Cube confronts him directly. He knows all about Goliath. Briggs says, all right, you're out of line, you're fired. Revokes his access to everything, all of his tools. He can no longer be the big-time hacker. Until 2 seconds later, his son Dave hacks the government and grants his dad full access to everything. And then they team up. And now they're both disruptors. So they come up with a plan to make a rabbit virus that will poison the data that the aliens are eating, thus poisoning and killing the aliens. But they can't do it alone, so Dave brings in his hacker friends, the Disruptors, and we meet the other elite hackers, like Code Crusher and Starfire. I shit you not, those are two of their names in the hacker group. It's painful. It really is painful. So they get together. They work on the rabbit virus while they're making the rabbit virus, which, by the way, only takes 2 minutes. But within that 2-minute time span, Ice Cube decides he wants to make a YouTube video. So he hops in Adobe After Effects and he makes a YouTube exposed video on Briggs, releases it on YouTube, exposing Project Goliath and Briggs. And the entire world watched it instantly. He posted it. The whole world watched it. He posted it on the Disruptor YouTube channel. The whole world watched it, and now everyone knows why the aliens are here, and they now hate Briggs. So, he got his revenge, and he revealed the truth to everyone about Project Goliath. And now the rabbit virus is done. Again, all of this basically happening instantaneously. So, the rabbit virus gets uploaded, but it wasn't enough to stop the aliens. All it did was make them mad, so what they did is they hacked the hackers before the hackers could fully hack them. And then they use the IP addresses of the hackers in the Disruptor group, and they go blow up their houses. So we watch Starfire get blown up, and then, God rest his soul, even Code Crusher perishes under the might of the aliens and their fury. So they die. So now they need to come up with a new plan. Dave survives, by the way. Turns out he was actually bouncing his IP address from Ice Cube's house, but really he was at a dude named Brian's house. So after Ice Cube's house gets blown up and Ice Cube thinks his son died, all Ice Cube can do is this and go, damn. But then his son calls him. He's like, no, Dad, I'm actually fine. I was over at Brian's house. I just bounced my IP. So Ice Cube gets the family together for a FaceTime. Mark has gone and stopped the bleeding from Faith's injury, so they're together. They're fine. That whole side quest has been completed. And he gets the family together for a FaceTime call because the NASA lady has just informed them that the little bugs actually have DNA. They are organic cyber hybrid beings. So they can be killed, is the conclusion they reach. And they have a method. Turns out Faith, his daughter, was working on something called the Cannibal Code, which attacks 6 cells in a body. So they decide, let's rewrite the Cannibal Code to attack their cells and kill the aliens, since they're organic too. So they do that immediately. They literally rewrite this code instantly. And it's perfect coding. But there's another problem that arises because the government's decided to bomb the Goliath building, which is the building Ice Cube is in. It was actually underneath his feet the whole time because the government now knows it's going for Goliath. All the aliens are converging on that building to suck Goliath dry of all that precious data. But this is where things get weird. They have bombers bombing aerial vehicles that are about to do this. How? They've already established that none of their air vehicles or air units, any vehicles in the military, work anymore because the aliens sucked our data. But they have these bombers, and they also have drones that Ice Cube and family can access. Yet they had already made a point about how that's not possible because the aliens sucked our fucking data. But they totally forgot and just said, maybe people have already fallen asleep by this point and won't care. But I was awake the whole goddamn time watching this. They totally forgot that a plot point was they can't use these crafts. Because if they could, then it wouldn't matter about the data, because they were beating the fuck out of the aliens using these vehicles. using all of these aircrafts. So if they still have access to aircrafts, who cares if they go towards Goliath? Just blow them the fuck up. That was the whole reason, the whole point of trying to fight back with poisoned code is because we no longer have access to the military because of our sucked data. But now we have bombers that are going to go blow up Ice Cube. Just fucking blow up the aliens if we still have this ability. It's, oh my god, it actually made me upset. So, anyway, they rewrite the code, but Ice Cube has no way of taking that code and injecting it into Goliath downstairs because they don't allow thumb drives in the secured building. But, and this is where it gets so fucking shameless, but Mark has a thumb drive, and Mark works for Amazon. And you know what else Amazon has? Prime Air. So Mark gives a whole sales pitch about how Prime Air works and how he can give the thumb drive to the drone for Amazon Prime Air and fly it to him just like Amazon Prime does. And I'm not kidding, he gives a sales pitch. And then he takes the Amazon Prime drone and he flies the thumb drive over to Ice Cube, but not without some really intense dogfighting where the aliens are laser beaming at Mark flying the Amazon drone, but it's just too good. It's much more effective than all of the government planes, it seems, because they were just getting blown out of the sky with lasers at one point. Meanwhile, Mark, who is not a fighter pilot, he's something far stronger, an Amazon Prime drone delivery expert. He's dodging all their lasers, he's doing fucking barrel rolls, and then Dave is hacking nearby drones in order to blow up the aliens that are attacking Mark's drone. Again, how is he even able to access drones? That shit shouldn't be working in the first place, what you've already fucking established here. But anyway, Mark's made it to the building, but he hits something on the way in, and his drone flips over, and he can't flip it back. But luckily, they get to see that there is a man taking cover nearby through the camera of the drone. We get to see this. There's a man taking cover nearby, so Ice Cube instructs Faith to hack into the guy's phone and send him a text message asking him to flip over the drone. So she does. She hacks into his phone, sends the text message. The guy checks his phone. He says, "No way, are you kidding me? There's aliens here. I'm going to die if I do that." And then Mark says, bribe him with or he didn't use the word bribe. Mark said, offer him $1,000 Amazon gift card. So she does. She sends him a text offering an Amazon Prime gift card for $1,000. And he instantly sprints over there. He reads it, sprints over, he flips the drone up for the bribed $1,000 Amazon gift card. So then Mark continues the mission. He delivers a thumb drive to Ice Cube. He makes it to the Goliath interface. And then as he's approaching the Goliath interface to plug it in, the tentacles are getting all up in his ass. And he's reaching heroically to plug in the cannibal code. And he does it. But then the feed cuts. But all the aliens start dropping like flies. They've done it. Cannibal code was a great success. The aliens are dead. Our data is still not safe. They still have all of our data, but the aliens are now gone, and they abort the bombing mission, so Ice Cube gets to survive. And then the bad guy, Briggs, gets arrested, and disruptors are now hailed as heroes across the globe. And then there's like a special mention about like how important privacy and data is. So like the government's calling on Ice Cube saying, "We thank you for your service. We'd like you to come up with a new surveillance system that takes privacy into account, because we think privacy is important now." And Ice Cube says, "No, that's not my style anymore. Now, instead of watching people, I'm going to be watching you." And that's the end. That is Amazon's War of the Worlds. There's a lot that I just omitted, by the way, because it is just so unbelievably uninteresting and just downright insulting to the entire act of making a film that I just didn't even put it into the notepad. There is literally nothing redeeming about this film. The only positive I could almost squeak out here is that it is enjoyably shitty. Like, I do think this would have been a lot of fun to watch with friends because there is so much to laugh at and make fun of. But watching it on my own, sometimes it actually just made me mad. Like, it is crazy how bad this movie is, because it is really just like an ad being shoved down your throat, but in the form of a movie. Like, I do actually think that this is probably the start of where we see advertising go, where they disguise movies as ads. Like, they've already made this huge push for AI generated ads, like across the board. I keep seeing that pop up. I think they will also use AI to AI generate movies that are actually just ads as well. It is just incredibly bad. That's really about it. It is the worst movie I've seen. See ya.
Strangers Chapter 2 came out. Did you even know that? Hopefully not. I imagine you didn't, and I apologize for even putting this on your radar. They made a sequel to Strangers Chapter 1, which was abhorrent. I can't even remember if I made a review spitting on it. I don't even know if I even bothered to take the time insulting that movie or not. I might have, might not have. It's all a blur to me now. But turns out they've made a sequel to it. They've made the inexplicable decision to make a sequel to that super stinker. And not only that, turns out it's a trilogy. At the end of this movie, they even have a montage sizzler reel giving you the little breadcrumbs for Chapter 3. It is so silly. I really thought Nick Fury was about to pop on screen and recruit Maya to the Avengers. Maya being the survivor of Strangers Chapter 1, The Attack. I don't say this lightly, but we might be witnessing the worst trilogy in horror movies. And only one question needs to be asked. Why? Why would you even make this in the first place? The first Strangers movie, the original, is a banger. I really like that film. Strangers Chapter 1 is irredeemable dog shit. And Strangers Chapter 2 completely wipes its ass with everything that made the original good. You see, in the original... I just dropped a UC like Darman here. But it is this profound. In the original Strangers, one of the most horrifying moments is when they are asked, when the main character asks the strangers why they're doing this. Why are you torturing us? Why are you going to kill us? What is the point? What are you doing this for? And they respond saying, because you were home. That's it. You don't get a Naruto flashback to the strangers explaining what led them to this moment, why they turned out this way. You don't get any tiddlywinks of lore about these characters at all. It's this message here. That's all you get. Because you were home. Letting the viewer know that these are just unhinged psychopaths that are doing this just because they felt like it and this couple happened to be there at the time. It is such an effective scene. Strangers Chapter 1 was horrible, but it did at least keep intact the strangers just being like, you know, faceless nobodies doing something because they clearly have a love for it, and they gave their own spin, their fucking remix on Because You Were Home, and butchered it. Stranger Chapter 2, though, completely takes the Strangers concept and flushes it down the shitter. This movie dedicates a pretty substantial chunk of its short runtime to fleshing out one of the strangers. Well, two of the strangers, giving you their backstory. Which is the antithesis to what these films are supposed to be about in the first place. So, of course, we're going to get into spoilers. This is your warning. Movie sucks. You're not missing anything. I wouldn't recommend it. It's not even like fun bad. It's just kind of a slog. Even though it's only like an hour and a half, it feels longer because it's just not good. And I saw the lead actress here come out and say, like, the best films are often polarizing. And I understand that you can't just come out and just, you know, start pissing on the movie that you're in. You're supposed to promote it, but the best films are polarizing. It's not polarizing. No one likes this movie. And plus, this is not part of, like, the best films. You know, this trilogy isn't going to be talked about in the same breath as, you know, fucking Lord of the Rings or something like that. But anyway, Strangers Chapter 2 picks up pretty much immediately where Chapter 1 leaves off, where Maya has just been the victim of the stranger's attack. Her fiancé was killed right in front of her, and she just barely survived, and now she's recovering in the hospital. And we immediately meet one of the strangers, unmasked. It's the waitress from the diner, Shelley. And then we get, throughout the film, like 20, 25-ish minutes dedicated to showcasing her childhood. And it turns out she was just born evil. She snaps the neck of a rat. She's obsessed with this boy who is like, has this girl that follows him around, so she gets really jealous and eventually kills that girl being Tamra, which, if you've seen Chapter 1, first of all, my condolences, what a waste of your time. Lord help us, I hope you don't see Chapter 2. Hopefully me explaining this here will paint a good enough picture. You won't feel, you know, the need to spend money on this piece of shit. But anyway, that's Tamra, and so she kills Tamra, and now every time the strangers go out and kill, she starts by saying, "Is Tamra there?" in reference to that moment from her childhood. And that boy in the flashbacks is pretty obviously the guy in the scarecrow mask. So we get like 20, 25 minutes just showing that she's evil. That's it. But that undoes the whole concept of the strangers just being like these psychopaths you know nothing about, never learn anything about, and they're just doing this because, well, who really knows? They're just doing it because they want to. Here, you're getting so much backstory and shit. They're actually setting this up like it's supposed to be some kind of like Marvel universe here for the strangers. It sucks. I really hated that direction. But not only that, the movie itself is just not good. I will say, though, the best part of it was the beginning where Maya's in the hospital and the strangers are alerted that she survived. Well, they then make it their mission to go out and finish the job. But before doing that, Maya's talking to the sheriff and, like, the other officer, and they're fucking weirdos. Like, the sheriff is a freak. He's talking to Maya about, like, what she encountered. He's like, maybe your memory's a little foggy. You did almost die, you know. It's pretty clear they're setting him up to be like this creepy presence who is clearly involved with the strangers in some shape or form. My guess is one of them is like, you know, his daughter or his son. So he like actively works to cover up their murders, which is a core component to the story that they sprinkle in here and there about how this town has all these murders that get covered up. And yeah. So he's clearly involved. They make that very obvious from the get-go. But they also set up like this whole town might be involved. There could be, anyone could be the strangers. So Maya's being hunted in the hospital. The hospital is fucking ginormous, by the way. Like, probably the size of the town, it feels like, with the amount of rooms she goes through and hallways she runs down. And somehow, the strangers have, like, fast travel throughout this film. So even when she ends up in, like, the fucking basement, like, in the middle of nowhere, one of the strangers just happens to be there. Like, she's just already there. Why would she be there? You knew that she was in one of the hospital beds. Why the fuck would you, like, fan out to, like, the basement garage? And that happens a lot, where she, like, ends up in the woods at one point, and somehow the strangers... These are giant woods, by the way. But somehow the strangers are always, like, right on her tail, like, only a few yards away. Even though they never saw where she went, or even knew that she ended up in the woods in the first place like that. Like, it's just crazy to me how they're, like, this omniscient presence. Like, they are constantly able to find her in the middle of fucking nowhere. It's like they actually have a UAV online or something. Or like in Mario Kart, like rubber banding, where like they can always catch up to you. It's so baffling. But anyway, the best sequence is in the hospital where she's like running away from the strangers. I actually thought they did a good job of like building up some tense moments where the guy with the axe is coming through and she's trying to like outsmart him by hiding. But then it's always undercut by her making like a really stupid decision. So like she completely evades him at one point, and then while he's still like within earshot, she starts to like crawl away and she like blasts a wrench with her knee. So then obviously he hears that, goes over and starts throwing barrels around. Anyway, Maya manages to get out of the hospital. Axe guy butchered like 2 people. And then she ends up in the woods. Well, actually, yeah, she ends up in the woods. Somehow the strangers are like able to track her in the woods, like I mentioned. I guess they could just fucking smell her from miles away or something. So they're tracking her. She eventually winds up on a road where a car is coming, and it's one of the people from the hospital. And she stops, lets her in, and it's her, another woman, and then 2 other dudes are just walking on the road randomly in this pouring down rain. They're like, oh, it just happens to be our roommates. What are you guys doing? They're like, yeah, fucking, he calls him Dick Stain. Dick Stain forgot the keys or something to the truck, so now we're walking home. It's like, well, hop in, you know, and they turn it into a clown car, so now they're sandwiching Maya in the backseat, and these 2 guys are obviously very creepy, and they're setting them up to be very creepy. So the whole idea is anyone in this car could be one of the strangers. Maya starts freaking out because she thinks she's in danger. The guy next to her has like a smiley face tattoo on his neck, and he's really shifty. It's very clearly trying to nudge the viewer that this is probably the Scarecrow, and I thought it was a red herring, but I'm actually pretty sure it is just the main Scarecrow guy, because at the end of the film, the big reveal, like with the Tamara flashback, is Shelley and that boy draw a smiley face out of blood, out of Tamara's blood, and this guy just happens to have that same smiley face tattoo on his neck. And also, he's never there when the axe guy comes through, the Scarecrow guy. So I think it probably is just that guy, but it feels just too obvious. But I also think this movie is just that shitty that they probably will just make it very obvious and not even try to subvert your expectations. But anyway, I'm getting so lost just like yapping about this fucking thing, just blabbering on. She's in the backseat with these 2 guys. She's freaking out. The other guy is, he's also weird.
She grabs a knife that one of the girls was using to cut an apple with. She grabs a knife, jumps out of the moving vehicle, runs back into the forest, and then the strangers are starting to track her again. She goes like survivalist mode. She makes a fire and everything. She drinks some water from a nearby like stream, and then she gets attacked by a wild boar. Well, I guess not wild per se. It's semi-domesticated because the axe guy, well, it turns out when he was a kid, we get this from the flashbacks, he could like mind control boars. I say mind control, but like he's able to, he's like the boar whisperer, so he can like talk to the wild pigs and have them do his bidding. So he goes to a shed, unlocks the shed, and then that boar finds Maya, and then it becomes like the Revenant for a little bit. Like it is actually straight up just like the Revenant. So she's getting attacked by the boar, bitten by the boar and shit, and then she has to stab and kill the boar. She does. She's extremely injured again because obviously she just got attacked by this fucking boar. But she's able to muscle her way through the forest and end up back at the house from the Chapter 1 film. It's all cautioned off because there was a grisly murder that happened there, but she's able to take some refuge in there for all of like 45 seconds, and then some guy shows up, and it turns out he like shows her a badge. He's Internal Affairs, who's investigating the sheriff for his like covering up of all the murders that are happening in town. He just comes out of nowhere, by the way. I don't know why he ended up at this house. No one is at this house. It's all cautioned off. I don't know why he wouldn't go to like the town and like the police station itself to conduct like the investigation and everything. But he just randomly ends up at this house. He finds Maya, immediately recognizes that Maya is one of the victims. Like, oh my god, I'm gonna help you. I'm gonna do everything I can to help you. Here, get in my truck. We're gonna get into town. And then as she gets in the truck, he gets sniped by a crossbow from one of the strangers. So he was in actually maybe like 15 seconds worth of film there. So now she has a truck, she drives away, but it got hit by a crossbow, and now it's like breaking down, and it crashes, well, it runs out of juice right at the house from that woman from before, and the roommates and everything. It's their house. So she collapses at the door, they stitch her up, fix her, get her back together, and then that guy with the smiley face tattoo, his name is Gregory, and this guy is like the biggest, I cannot stress this enough. He is like what a Redditor thinks is cool. He is so fucking cringe. I had to write this down. I didn't take too many notes during this movie because it's just so bland and boring. But Gregory is bafflingly cringe. So, when she gets up out of bed, notices that she's been stitched up, she walks out of her room and meets Gregory, who's chugging a bottle of alcohol. And he's just immediately like going back and forth. He's like, oh, you like my tattoo, don't you? Yeah, it's a cool tattoo. We had a little like church retreat, and we all got tattoos and stuff. Like you like what you're supposed to do and stuff. You like this tattoo, don't you? I know you like this. Yeah, you do. I know you do. And then like he's just being so weird, and Maya just says that's cool. And then the others come in, the other roommates are like, Gregory, stop being such a creep. And he's like, gah, whatever. So then he like storms off behind her to the door right next to her, or to the door behind her. Slams it, says fuck, and then turns on rock and roll music on his fucking boombox. It is so embarrassing. Like, it's so bad. I cannot believe they actually did that unironically, and it wasn't even played off as like a joke or anything. It was awful. But I'm also pretty sure that is just the Scarecrow guy. I don't think that they're gonna try and make him a red herring. It's probably just him. It's so dumb. It's so fucking dumb. Anyway, though, after that encounter with Gregory, she goes back to her room to rest. Gregory storms off, fucking hammered, gets in his car, drives away, and the roommates, they then get attacked by the strangers. So both of them get killed, and then the two female strangers are trying to break into Maya's room. One of them is actually behind her. Maya had no idea she got flanked. And instead of the stranger killing Maya, she instead starts singing "Rock-a-bye baby on the treetop," trying to be like really creepy. And then Maya had a pair of scissors, so she turns around and stabs her. The only reason Maya gets away at all in this film is because the strangers are so fucking bad at what they're doing. Like, they're not even doing it as part of like their game or whatever. They're just like genuinely stupid people. So she gets stabbed, and then she runs and locks herself in the bathroom, and then the strangers just leave. It's like, oh, I got stabbed like in the shoulder. I'm gonna go home. I gotta get this checked out. So they just leave. So Maya just waits in there for a couple minutes, de-aggroes, leaves, and then an ambulance is there because an ambulance was sent to pick up Maya. And she gets in the ambulance, and it turns out the strangers didn't fully leave. They were waiting to ambush her. So Shelly is in that ambulance, and now they're fighting. And it's really an easy fight. Maya, who has been mauled by a boar, stabbed, beaten up, like absolutely like beyond repair, like probably tons of broken bones, ouchies, lacerations, can hardly walk, is able to easily overpower Shelly and stab her in the head, killing her. Or so you thought. As Maya's driving away in the ambulance, Shelly gets up and like starts strangling her with the seatbelt. So then Maya flips the ambulance, which kills Shelly. And then Maya watches as the scarecrow guy and the other female stranger pull up in their truck and see that Shelly is dead. They unmask her and he starts fucking crying over her corpse. And then you get that last flashback I mentioned with that smiley face after killing Tamra. And that's Strangers Chapter 2. Setting up for Chapter 3 where she's going to kill the other two strangers. It sucks. Really does. I don't know what they were thinking making this movie. Well, making these movies. I don't know why they made Chapter 1. I understand even less why they made Chapter 2. And I really cannot fathom why they are making Chapter 3. Apparently these were filmed back to back to back. Like, they really banked on this being, like, successful. Like, people being very invested in this. But I don't know how anyone could possibly be invested in these movies. Anyway, that's really about it. Yeah.